Hello everybody and welcome to the table. Today we're checking out a knife from Ryobi. So of course Ryobi being a very popular tool brand, this one I picked up from Direct Tools Outlet, and for the price of $13.99 it makes kind of a nice cart filler in case you're already making a purchase and maybe need to get to that free shipping threshold. So for $13.99, what are we getting here with this Ryobi branded folding pocket knife? Let's take a close look at the packaging first. So right here we can see that we have a high carbon stainless steel blade. So the actual blade steel is a mystery, but again, it's most likely something like a 440 steel, a 7CR steel, something of that nature. We have a drop point blade, a reversible belt clip, which is interesting because on most pocket knives, we call it a pocket clip, not a belt clip. But if they're advertising it for belt carry, good for them. And of course, an ergonomic handle. Right down here, we can see the locking mechanism. It says quick and easy open close button. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of actual lock this knife has on it. If I just had to look on it based on what I see in the package, it looks almost like a Spyderco compression lock. So we will have to take a closer look at that. But beyond that, of course, the color scheme is very Ryobi in nature, yellow and black. So it's going to be very recognizable what you have on your belt/pocket. And I just kind of want to take a closer look at this one and see what do you get for a budget price. This is an option for you. So let's go ahead and open up this knife and check things out. Alright, so let me share some of my first impressions about this Ryobi folding pocket knife. So first off, let's check out the specs of this knife. So our blade here, I have my ruler. Let's go ahead and measure it out. Our blade length is coming in at pretty much exactly 3¼ inches long, and that's all sharpened edge. Overall length of the knife is coming in around 8 inches in length, 8 inches long. So we can also check out the weight of the knife. So let me pull out my scale right here. Check it out. So the knife is weighing in at 3.7 ounces. So not too heavy, not a lightweight either, but with these plastic handles, I didn't expect it to be a super heavyweight knife. So it's something that you're probably not going to notice too much in pocket. Of course, we notice we have a wire pocket clip on this knife, and it is in fact reversible. So you can see there's a cutout for tip up or tip down carry. And so the first thing I did immediately upon opening the package, I decided to swap out the pocket clip. And it actually carries nice and deep when it's in the tip up position. We can see it's pretty much right here flush with the handle. So even though this is a bright orange or bright yellow handle, it is not super noticeable when you're using the deep carry pocket clip. So that's always a plus. Even if you wanted to go tip down carry, because it is a deep carry clip, there's still not going to be much knife sticking out of your pocket. So it's kind of an awkward position right here underneath the pivot, but still not a big deal. The knife itself, we can see our black drop point blade right here. So it has a black coating on there. The opening hole is right there, and it's kind of easy to actuate. It does, take some practice, but it is easy to flick open. But it works, so you can see easily one hand opening works out just fine, and it closes nice and smooth. Inside the action right here, we can see there are some bronze washers. I don't know if you can see that on camera exactly, but you can go ahead and check it out in there. We have a couple of bronze washers that the blade is running on, so it is a nice smooth opening. It's not gritty, feels nice and smooth right out of the package. Centering looks good as well. The action, this lock right here, is kind of like what I expected. We can see the knife is here, it's open, and there is a liner in there that when you press this button inward, it comes off of the blade, allows you to close it, and when it opens, you can see it snapping into place. There we go. So it's very similar to a Spyderco compression lock. It's kind of like a right-handed version of a compression lock, if anything. So I can show you actually a direct comparison right now. So right here, this is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And so we can see the way the compression lock works on this action. You press that lock in, it releases the blade, And then when the blade opens up again, you can see it snap into place as the blade locks open. So it's essentially the same style of action, except where this one's more exposed, and this is a little bit more recessed into the handle. So you can see it lock open like that. So very similar technology, but it did remind me quite a bit of the Paramilitary 2 right here, which for size comparison, we'll just put those two side by side. But either way, of course, the focus here is on the Ryobi knife. And when the knife is in the locked open position, there is definitely some wiggle to the blade. It's side to side, a little bit of up and down. It is very noticeable. But really, for the knife's price, $13.99, you know, I'm not expecting the world for that price. And I think it's acceptable for a knife that's going to be a working, usable knife. So I don't think it's dangerous by any means. That liner in there has really nice lockup, so it's right there on the middle of the tang of the blade. So I think that's not going to be a major safety issue or anything, but it's not bank vault lockup. The polymer handles here, again, this really nice bright color, and could actually be quite a positive thing, because if you carry this knife, you use this knife, when you pull this out, someone seeing you open this knife in public, we always have the people who are worried that you're carrying
weapons of war.
For people like that, they see you pull this knife out, it very much looks like a tool. It doesn't look like your scary knife, your scary weapon, especially with the big Ryobi branding on there. I think it's very friendly to look at, and I don't think anyone's going to give you a second look if you pull this knife out in public. And of course, lending to the tool-like look of the knife, we can look real here close. I don't know if you can make it out, but right here on the corner, there's even a little safety figure saying you should wear safety glasses with this tool. The Ryobi branding again right there. So it's very much leaning towards that, hey, this is a safe to use tool that you would carry with you in your toolbox, on your belt, you know, in an everyday carry type of situation. So for $13.99, I think Ryobi did a pretty darn good job with this knife. We can see there's also a lanyard hole down here at the bottom. And of course, that is very clear of the blade, so there's no issue with that. It's all plastic construction. We have steel liners in there as well. So even though with the plastic construction, it's still very sturdy. And the button action here in the back is actually quite nice to use. You can just hold it down with your finger and flick the blade out. It's very fidget friendly in that way. So once you get used to it, you can easily open and close this knife. And of course, it's always just fun to play with. So there's that. So even though there's a small opening hole, you don't even necessarily need it with this type of action. One thing I will mention though, so we have the pocket clip screw, the pivot screw, and several of the body screws. They are all different sizes. So if you want to adjust this knife, it's going to be quite difficult. First thing I noticed trying to flip the pocket clip screw, I noticed the pocket clip screw and the stop pin screw up here, they use a T7 Torx bit to operate. And a T7 size is kind of uncommon. The pivot uses a T8. But these small body screws, this one, and this one, these are all T6 screws. So interesting that there are 3 different size screws on this knife, and probably the only one you really need to worry about messing with is going to be for the pocket clip to reverse it if you like. And keep in mind, you will need a T7 Torx bit in order to do that. You can try it with a T6. It might work, but it might just likely strip out the screw if it doesn't, successfully turn it for you. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to strip out your screws on this knife. But I will commend the look of the knife, because on the back side here with the pocket clip and the screws, we can see the hardware. Whereas on the show side with the logo, all those screws are contained within the handle to it. It looks a lot cleaner on the show side of the knife here. So they definitely were thinking about that appearance as they built it. And, it kind of shows. So definitely a nice knife to feel in hand. Only potential downsides, really just a little bit of play in the blade, the screws being different sizes. Keep in mind the screw size, you'll need to flip this pocket clip. But for $13.99, not a bad deal. So if Ryobi is your choice of tool brand, I think you could do a lot worse than picking this knife up. So if you see this at your local Home Depot in checkout line, totally pick it up for $13.99 or around that price. I think it's totally worth it just as an impulse buy, or even just as a gift for somebody in your life who has the Ryobi, 18-volt system in their life. So totally worth it to me, in my opinion. And so these are just my first impressions. Feel free to drop a comment below if you have any concerns or questions about the knife. But I hope you all have a nice day, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.